SQL. So in Excel, we're going to be talking about data cleaning, formulas in Excel, conditional formatting. Then we're going to build a full project in Excel where we're going to put in everything we've learned in data cleaning, in formulas, conditional formatting to build an entire project whereby you can put this project in your portfolio, even build a dashboard so as to minimize time instead of going to Power BI to create visuals and the whole thing. Of course, Power BI is a visualization to Power BI with Tableau, but since we are going to be taking Excel and SQL because of our time, so we'll make do with what we have and create a dashboard with Excel. Because of course you can do that too, but it's just that Power BI and Tableau has more more visualization to than Excel. That is why it's called visualization tool. So first thing first, when you have a data set, you want to look at it because most times when you get data from data gathering and the thing, it is not always clean, especially with data like this, not just numbers and the thing. Data like this, they are always dirty. It's one of the very responsibility to go through it and clean most of this data. So looking at this particular data set, the first thing you do when you get data set is you study the data, regardless of whether it is your field or not. You make sure you study the data. Now, looking at studying the data, these are the places where you are going to notice some inconsistencies there. Now, look at this data set now. We are from column A to column, I think I. So it's not much. And bear in mind that everything we are going to be taking in this class and our subsequent classes, from the data cleaning to the formulas and the whole thing and conditional formatting, your real world data set will not always be like this. But the main essence of this is how are you going to tackle these problems? One of the major things you are going to be doing as a data analyst is solving problems, providing solution. That's why they need us, providing solution. So you are going to be doing more of critical thinking than analyzing. Of course, you are going to the major thing in where you when you have a data set, what you are doing is you are going to be cleaning messy data most of the time. So how do you go about it? Not like every data that they give you, you just have from A to I, and you're going to be using one formula of a proper trim and the other thing that like you are going to be doing in this class. No, of course not. But how do you apply these things that you are taking you in real world when you have your own data set, when you have a problem you are trying to provide solution to? So how you are going to apply this there. That's the most important thing. So it's not like every data is going to be like this, but how to solve the problem is what we are taking, is what we are teaching you here. So you study it now. You see this A and B just basically number. So let's start by getting rid of this one. This one is just number. So this data set is a data set of past president of the United States of America. This is their data set. So we have the president, the prior, the party that they came from. Let's expand it. And of course, what's it called? Cells are not always like this, always big like this. For some of us that are new to Excel, this is a cell. This number two, this small box, these are cells. Why these are cells there? So it is not always big as it is there. So but you can always expand it. That's the beauty of Excel. You can always like expand it to whatever it is that you want. This was small before, then we expanded it. So we have the president, the prior, which means what they were doing before they became the president of the United States. We have the party that they came from. Then we have the vice, salary, and date. So we can tell that from this precedent alone, the way they write this thing, some are written in proper form, some are written in lowercase, some are messed up. It's not the same. There's no standardization in this column. So these are part of the things that we're going to be dealing with. This might not work with this. That's just for now. Then the party. Now, if as a seasoned data analyst, if you are working with this type of data set, you know that this column is a very vital column. It's something that it is very, very vital because questions that might erupt from this kind of data set is okay. You want to know how many times each of these parties has produced the president of the United States. So there's no way you're not using the column, either as slicer or as KPI or whichever the case may be. So this column is a column that you want to like take note very well and deal with and like to make sure it is actually very, very so as you not have inconsistency in your distance. And now there's something they call unique values. Now, if in a party like this, in a distance like this, you cannot be counting numbers of parties that are here. Let's say we have, this is just like about the 60 rows of data, but let's say it's about 1,000 or 2,000. So of course you cannot be scrolling, looking at it and trying to like figure out which one is which. So we want to add a filter to it and see how many parties are there. So regardless of how many times they appear there, it's going to bring out the unique values. Okay, we have partisan here, federalist here, weak, democratic. It's going to bring out the unique values. So the first thing we want to do is we want to add filter to the entire. Let's just add it to the entire sheet. You highlight it. You come to data. Hold on. Uh, okay. So you highlight it. You come to data, and you add your filter. We're going to add filter to all the column head. So if you try to like filter this, of course it's going to bring out all the names of the projects that are there and about 50 or 60. So it is actually very normal for that one. So but for this place that where we need is like we want to see the unique identifier of each of these parties. When you click on your filter here, you see that okay, regardless of whether it is 50 or 60 data or even if it's 1,000, to bring out all the parties that appeared. Yeah. So looking at this now, you see that we have Democratic Republican, then Democratic. Even looking at that alone, you know that this looks like a bit of typo error. Federalist, non-partisan Republicans and Republicans. And as I used to tell my students, it is when we are gathering data, it is actually we are expecting the data to actually be messy most times. Now, I made an example. The data that we put out that you guys filled your when we were gathering the information for this bootcamp, there was a column there. I would have shared my screen for us to see it, but because of our time and the whole thing, hold on. Because of our time and the entire thing, we might not be doing that. So there was a section there that said you should put in your LinkedIn your LinkedIn profile link, if you can remember. So in that data on our hand, of course, that's part of how you gather data. I'll send the form to you. Looks like this thing that you just type in your information. To us, we convert it to an Excel sheet. Like it's the data for us. That's the way to gather data of. But if you come into this bootcamp, we have the data because it's not sensitive information. So these are part of ways you can actually like gather data. What was I saying? So we put in there that people should put in the link to your LinkedIn. We believe that some of you are putting new, some are putting some are going as far as putting their name, Egbetokun, Agodele, when I'm asking you to put in your LinkedIn link. So things like that. If you now want to make use of, let's say we want to make the entire column to be of links, name will be there, name will be there. So that is what we are going to be doing to be cleaning. Why some will even like trying to put that where are they coming from? We are putting the state you are coming from. Some are putting Sogote Edo-Epe. Is that a state or a local government? So these are the things that we it is actually normal because all of us cannot solve a problem from the same point. So there will always be, that person, those people that will mess things up, of course. So looking at this particular now, you agree with me that this democratic that was there is actually a spelling error. But let's leave that. We'll come back to that. Just like pointing out what we are going to be cleaning before we jump right into it. Then we have the device, with unnecessary spacing, both from the beginning, in between. Then we have the date. The we have the currency. That one is actually good. It's actually okay. Then we have the date, whereby we have long date and short date. Either we'll change the entire thing to long date or change the entire thing to short date. So let's start here with the president. So once I make this, once to unify this, write this correctly. Either we are changing the entire thing to uppercase or we are changing the entire thing to lowercase. So let's just do something with it. So let's add. I want to add. I want to add a column in front of it. That is how I like to do it. You might want to just do your own to put your own column on column J, whichever works for you. But I want to put it in front of it so that you can be seeing. You see the differences in what we are doing. So let's name it President Neil. This is the old one, President Neil. So we are going to be using a formula here now. Now, after this class, we have a class titled Formulas in Excel. Now, what we are going to be taking is just strictly formulas. Formulas in Excel, or any all sort of formulas that you can think of. We have a whole lot of formulas in Excel that we will not even be able to exhaust. You can never exhaust on your own. But it's very best for you to like go on your own, go and learn what's it called, do your own research and analysis, like learn more of these formulas. We are going to try as much as possible our best to teach you about 10, 15, 20 of these formulas. So before then, let's just let's take some formulas. I think there's about two formulas in this class before we now go properly into the our formula class and taking what sort of formulas that we want to use. Now, the essence of doing this is, like I told you, we are going to be cleaning data. In cleaning data, you're going to be using formulas. So we are taking you a data cleaning class now, taking a formula class, provided there is time, a conditional formatting class. After that, we'll now do a full project whereby you'll be taking everything you learned from the conditional formatting to the formulas to the data cleaning to build that project from the scratch. You are going to clean, you're going to use formulas to clean, you're going to use formulas in pivot table to build a dashboard. So it is very, very vital that you take note and follow the process. So the formulas will do equals to whenever you want to do any formulas in Excel, you do equals to you're going to using a proper formula. A proper formula. So writing it, even writing the formulas alone, you notice that the Excel is bringing most of it out. You click tab, will tell you text. This is actually very simple, one of the very simplest formulas that I'm going to be using. Because you've not gotten to some ifs or VLOOKUP and you like. So this is actually very good. So you're telling you after you bring out your this thing, telling you test. Hello. So showing you text. So you are going to effect that chain to the entire column. Just come here to this box, right here, just double click. So you notice that for this one, even this John Adams that was written in lowercase entirely, it changed to the capital letter J, capital letter A. Like you can see the changes between from looking at this 2D thing, you can see the changes there. So that means we wrote we just changed this to proper form. And that's like write the name, the what the title to be in capital. That is a proper form. So let's say we don't, Mr. Daniel.
Go ahead.
Okay. So let's say we don't want to write this in proper form. We want to write everything in lowercase or uppercase. Let's change that. So when you do something and you hello, sorry for the break in transmission. So like zero, you just press that's going. You want to write everything in lowercase equals to you do lowercase. Okay, you do lowercase, do lower, then you effect the change everything, even the ones I was using in upper how the lowercase works. Then Control Z, they done. Then let's say we want to change everything to uppercase. So it's that simple. The class is actually going to be very interesting. I can promise you that. Uppercase, notice that everything has changed to uppercase, but for the purpose of this class, we are going to be doing it. I'm going to be doing what was it called? We're going to writing everything proper because these are names, so we want to do it as proper as possible. So let's effect the chain to the entire column. Voila. That simple as that. Now you won't be wondering that, okay, why don't you just delete this one? At least we have what we need now, right? This is the column that we need. So let's just delete this one. Right click, delete. It's not going to work because to make out this will change. So it's not going to work. Let's Control Z it to undo what we've done. So you can see that the two are still there. We'll come back to that. I will have to like effect the changes of what we have done. How to like delete and at least leave the one that is correct, definitely. So let's come to the party column. So now this party column, now, like we said, when we effect the what's it called and put the filter there, you notice that, like I said, there seems to be like a form of typo error there. Hold on 1 second. So when we put the filter there, here, we have democratic republican, and democratic. So let's check. Let's see something now. This is this democratic? Is it a typo error, or is there a party in the United States that is democratic? Of course, when you get your data set, you want to like do your own kind of little bit of research to see, just like familiarize yourself with what you are doing. So let's see. I've made my own research. There's no party as democratic in the United States, but let's check now. There's no harm in trying. So let's check. I'll select everything. Democratic. Take it. Okay, we have a lot of democratic. So let's check the democratic and select democratic and check this democratic. So you can tell that this was clearly an error from the person that was filling in this. I think the person was our own, okay, it was Woodrow Wilson. When was Woodrow Wilson the president of the United States? I think this, no, this date is not, I think it was this that they updated and created this file. Woodrow Wilson was the president when they were creating League of Nations now, if I'm correct. He was the president that created the League of Nations after the First World War, 1919. Correct me if I'm wrong, actually. But I used to study government in secondary school. I studied history, so I believe even they taught us in the uni. Woodrow Wilson was the president that created League of Nations, even though the United States did not join. I think I should check. Woodrow Wilson. Sorry, we're learning. Woodrow Wilson. But I'm sure people should know Woodrow Wilson. He was the president. He was the 20th president. He died in 1924. Okay, president. Yeah, of course, he was the president that created the League of Nations. That when he got back to the Senate, the Senate didn't have like approved the United States to join that kind of their political distance. Yeah, so it was one that somebody made a mistake while putting. So it was a Democrat, Democratic. So we're going to change that. We'll now see that that Democratic is not there again. Now, somebody asked an interesting question one time when I was teaching this for those that came to the physical class, of course, definitely. So yes, she asked a very interesting question. We changed that manually. So what if people made a whole lot of mistake by writing that democratic in about 50 times? Are we going to be changing everything manually? Of course not. There's a way we can do that too. When we get to function, we start doing our logical test. I've already asked that to like create a sheet like that, to make a couple of mistake and the thing. So when we are teaching you guys, I think you'll be in the class too. You see the video. So how we can do that automatically. So we have democratic now. So we have democratic and democratic republican. Between me and you've made your research. Is there a party called Democratic Republican in the United States? Let's check. So you can see that we have Democratic and a lot of Democratic Republican. Now let's check the Democratic Republicans alone. So about 4 persons said they are Democratic Republicans. Now, four people cannot make the same mistake by putting Democratic Republican. So that means probably there's something like that. I've made my own research. There's no party like that. We just have to like leave it because we cannot just edit 4 persons' opinions out. If they say they are Democratic Republicans, who are we? Of course, we're not born then too. So if they say that's their party, just like, and I started an example that there was a time in Nigeria there is a party called ACN, Action Congress of Nigeria. I used to love that party. Although even though I don't like the party that they changed to now, I'm not a politician, but maybe one day. I used to love that party. I think far back as 2009. But today now, if you are telling a child that was born in 2007, like 20 years old, at least an adult now, that somebody contested an election under the party ACN against PDP, it'd be like ACN, PDP. Of course, there's still PDP today, but where is ACN now? He or she might not know, but we were alive then. We were like not politically active, but at least we're seeing our mothers, our uncles, and the thing going out to vote then. I was not of age in 2009. Of course, I was a kid now. But of course, we like old enough to like know that there's a party policy. And then I think then the addition was the reason why I loved them basically was because they were not violent. I think the PDP was violent in the state that I was in that they contested the election. So I kind of like I love them. But now there's no party like that again. They're APC now. And somebody even saying that before they changed the APC, they've been one party before then and the whole thing. So the whole thing is just scattered and the whole thing. But they have they gather the data now, data set in 2009 election. You'll be seeing ACN, PDP. But if you are not holding up, okay, now let's go back to even to our, let's say, third republic, the aborted republic of, what's it called? This is our father. What's it called? This man that they are not in this election. Or even the second republic. A lot of parties that contested that we don't know up now again. But let's go back to that third republic. We have, I think, Abiola contested under SDP. So there's still SDP now, but the other political parties that contested, they are not here again. Some of them have changed their name to something else. So if you don't know your history and they are telling you that such party contested them, you might actually tend to like argue it. But you're saying three, four persons say they contested that this party. So let's leave it. They say they are Democratic Republican. Even though me, I know that we all have Democrats and Republicans, but if they say they are Democratic Republican, probably there was a time they made the two parties together before they now, who knows? Let's just leave it. We don't know, we are not sure. And the good thing about Excel is when you are doing something like this, let's say eventually we now want to like we want to be the dashboard with this particular data set, which might be like an assignment to you. I haven't decided yet. You not build your dashboard. Now, this is going to be your Excel. You create another sheet here. You probably for pivot table, or don't pivot table for this, then for your dashboard. So there's a way that you can connect the two together there. If there's need for it, if there's need for you to like make a change in any of these things, if there's need for you to make a change in any of these things, easily, when you come back here to correct, it's going to reflect on your dashboard. So there's no harm in leaving it like this. 4%, so it's a lot. So let's leave that. Then we have federalist is correct. Non-partisan, if they say they are non-partisan, they are non-partisan. Yes. So one person is non-partisan and again the president, George Washington. That's very good. So we have Republican and Republicans. Stick on okay. You can tell that. This thing up there. So you can tell that Republicans. Let's check for Republicans. So this person is. Let's remove the Republicans. You can tell that this person only made a mistake by putting the yes there. I'm very certain of it. There's nothing like Republican. If everybody's saying they're Republican, you are saying you're Republican. It's a mistake. That's our able president, Donald Trump. So let's we've edited that. So we can see that it's getting more cleaner and cleaner by day by day. Then we have week, and this person that clearly wrote date in his what's it called? Where was supposed to write what's the name again? His party that he came from. So what are we going to do? Let's help him and clean out the dates there. He's our president. I love him. Although I don't agree with many of his political view. So we have view. Now we have view. So you can see that it's much more cleaner now compared to what we started with. Looking at this now, it's much more cleaner compared to what we started with. So let's select everything. Let's okay. So it's much cleaner now. So we have the vice president, the ones that necessary spacing and the other thing. Let's put let's put start the column. Let's say vice president. Vice president. You can name your own head, whatever you can name it, even to that same vice president. You can name it whatever. Like I said, we're going to be doing more of critical cleaning, doing what works for you mostly. So just be you, be what's it called now? Be creative, be creative with it. The name whatever it is I want to name it. So let's say equals to uh, the formula we're going to be using here is trim. So trim just trim out unnecessary spacing. Let's do trim is equals to so that trim will take care of unnecessary spacing. So you can now effect the change. So you can see the changes clearly. Like this one that has unnecessary spacing from the beginning. So you can see it's like just remove the every unnecessary space out there has been trimmed out. So that's the formula to use. And of course, you know that you cannot delete this one, just like I told you earlier now. You can't delete that one. So let's just leave it. We are going to come back to how you're going to effect that change. Then their salary, consider their salary is salary is okay. What then is actually okay. If you come here to this data set, this home here, consider it in currency, so it's good. This one is in general, which is stocks. No, can I set an example that if you look at this vice president new column and this H column, which is salary, what is that one key difference that you can tell that you can see there? One, two, three, four, five. Good. If you got it correct, that's very good for you. Everything takes here starting from the left hand side. Anything number is starting from the right hand side. Why is that? Because automatically when you put something in Excel, either number or name, let's say my name is Olalekan, let me put my name here. From the left. Let me put 55. That's my age. From the right. Automatically Excel will do that. But any in a scenario where you're not seeing no, your numbers are not starting from the left. For example, let's use this date now as an example. Now this is a date, is the number, the figure, of course, it's starting from the right. So let's not say we want to use a formula. Let's say we want to call out the year, the year in this date, the year in this date. So the formula called right formula that we use for something like that. This is the text, comma, the number 4, which means the 4 is the year. That year, how many figures are there? 1, 2, 3, 4 now. So we'll have to teach you that. Consider that this one is showing nonsense, it's not doing. Let me take you to this another. Um, that's something that I did there. Let me do it here. Right. Come on. 4. I think this one brought out the correct year. Now, if you notice, the date here started from the left hand side. Now, even if you come to the home and come to this view, you can see that this date here is in text. This date here is in text. Why here? This date is starting from the right hand side, and the date here is date. So in most cases, whereby you might not need the entire date, probably the month, the year, every other thing, you might not need it. So you want to call out the year, and your date is in this format. You'll be using that right formula a lot. Don't worry, trust me. I can tell that you're using a lot, because you need to like call out the year most times. So if it's in date format, you'll not be able to use that formula. So there's a function another function that says you can convert your date to text. These are the things that we're going to be doing in our formula class. You can convert your date to text. Just note that's not part of our class, but just note that. So the salary date and very good, correct. If you filter this date too, you notice that you notice that this thing, this one there's an inconsistency, the other thing there. So because we can just prove, you can see that this one too is date though. If you look at it, it's still date. This one too is date. But they're just short or long date. So you just have to like pick one. Do you want everything to be short or long? So let's just change this. And everything to long date. Everything will change to long date. For me, I don't like it. So let's change everything to short date, whichever one works for you. Consider our meeting time remains 2 minutes. So let me just quickly wrap up this because of our time. This one to let's change this one to short date. So everything to short date. You notice that there's no long date there again. The filter it's still the same thing, but there's no long date there again. How many times remaining 1 minute? Oh my god. So since we cannot delete this one, how do you do? How do you like effect the change there? You come here, you right click, you copy, you come to that original one, you right click, you paste as value. You don't just paste to, you paste as value. No, let's just paste. Let's paste. You can see that okay, I pasted it as value. Oh, what have I done? So I come here, you copy, you come to this vice, let's paste as value. You notice that everything that was here has changed. This other place has changed to it. So I copy, I now want to paste as normal. In F now, let me just paste as normal. You see that everything has it has scattered everything. It has brought the party to here. It has scattered the entire. It wasn't even supposed to be like that, but to shall like disrupt it. Let's Control Z. So you can only once you copy here, just come here and paste it as value. So that way you cannot come to this place and delete this one. We have what we want. We'll do the same thing for this president too. Let's copy. Let's paste as normal pasting. See that you change to number. It will change to bring this number here. So we cannot do that. I've copied it. Let's paste it as value. The one that has 1, 2, 3 is the paste as value. Let's paste it as value. Voila. We have what we want. Then we'll get rid of this one. So we have a clean data. We have our president, the party, the vice.